Hi, and welcome to another episode of RedHens Writing Advice. Today I want to do something a little bit different in that I just want to tell you a story, and you can take from it what you will. Several years ago, when I was a journalism student, I was part of a small group project where we worked with a group of teen parents at a local high school to create a newsletter that featured their stories of what it was like to be a kid raising a kid. And being young and naive ourselves, I think we went into the project thinking that, in some way this would really impact these kids' lives. Maybe it would inspire them or open doors to new opportunities or just help them connect on a better level with their peers. The reality was a little bit different. The kids were really excited to introduce us to their children and have their family photos taken. But when it came to the actual writing part of the process, there wasn't a lot of interest. To them, it was just another school assignment. And really, that makes sense because, we're talking about, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids who were single dads or, young moms with children from different partners or whose partners were in jail. They had a lot of bigger things to deal with than, sharing their stories. However, there was one girl in the class who was really excited about the experience and talked to us about how much she loved writing and how much she wanted to be a writer. And then she asked us for advice on how to go about doing that. And that's where it really hit home how unprepared we were to be there, trying to set ourselves up as mentors to these kids because I didn't know what to tell her. I couldn't tell her to follow the path that I had taken because her life was completely different than my own. I grew up in a very supportive environment where, fortunately I didn't have to deal with anything like a teen pregnancy. I got a job at my local newspaper and I, was able to graduate at the top of my class and go to university on scholarship. And this was a girl who was really just trying to get through high school. At that time, the path to becoming a writer, or at least the path that I knew of, was a lot different than it is today. My image of a writer was somebody who either worked for an employer like a newspaper or a magazine, or who basically lived in isolation, holed up in a room in their house or in a local coffee shop, plugging away at the computer trying to come up with a novel or a short story idea that they could hopefully, with a little bit of luck or a lot of luck, be able to sell. How do I tell a young girl who is raising a child how to achieve that goal when at the time I didn't even know how to achieve it myself? Fortunately, things are different now. You don't need to have a newspaper job or a publisher or a bunch of journalism students to help you find your voice. You can blog, you can write on sites like Steemit where you have an audience or you have access to an audience, and you can tell your own story in your own words. And I think that that's a really positive change for our future because, if you're like me, writing is a big part of your life. It's a big part of how you process your thoughts, how you experience the world, and how you relate to other people. I wish I could find out what happened to that girl and whether she ever did find her path to being a writer. But when I think about this story, it just reminds me that we should appreciate the fact that we live in a world now where everyone can have a voice, can have the ability to tell their own stories. I don't think that's something that we should take for granted. And, as much as we can appreciate, the access that we have, I think it's important also that we support each other and that we fight to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities to share their stories that we do. So I'm just going to leave you with that, rambling thought for the day. I'm really curious to hear what you think about it, and if there are experiences in your life where you felt that you didn't have a voice or an opportunity to to share what you wanted to share, or moments where you really did, or maybe somebody encouraged you along the way, a little bit more effectively than I was able to do in this experience. So again, please, leave a comment, share your thoughts on that. And as always, until next time, steam on.